Hi guys, I am in the process of starting this Instagram live. I am feel so lucky that you guys are here. Thank you so much for joining. So this is my Instagram live. I do this additional hour of painting demonstration for my students that are taking my classes. And with my classes, we're focusing on still life with oils, and specifically still life through oils through the lens of mastery of by first copying a masterpiece. So we copied a Chardin, and then because copying is not the true goal, I don't want my students to become just really good at replicating what other great artists have done. The goal is then to take those skills that we've copied from copying we copied a Chardin this term, and then start trying to apply those very same lessons to a still life setup that has never been created before. So the term is we're learning through emulation, the idea of mastery through the study and copying of others, with the goal ultimately to create something new and better that has never yet been seen in the world. Thank you guys so much. And so I appreciate that all of you guys are here, and so I am, I'm just getting started. I took a lunch break between our class, and then I'm now in the process of getting started again and exploring. So I need to, I'm trying to control the amount of oiling in I'm doing on this subject, and during the class this morning, I worked and taught how you paint something like this blue and white MRA ball, and how do you put in the patterning and the lines, and so now now it's pretty much done for this example, and it's time to move on to other things. So I'm getting ready to start painting, but before I can move on to the next layer, because I've already got 2 layers, I need to get this guy, I need to oil him in. And today I'm using the Rublev Oleo Gel as my oiling in medium, because I want to have kind of just like a controlled oiled in experience. And so isn't that amazing? Like, look at how it's always surprising to me how sunken in your work can get if you're not careful. And so I'm just kind of getting that, I'm going to need to work on my background a bit, or just what I'm noticing. Yeah. So, any questions so far, guys? You're always welcome to ask any questions or type in questions. Now, if you're, I do have one request though. If your Instagram handle is not a true name, but something else, just let me know in your comment what your name is, so that way I can, it feels a little bit more human saying someone's name versus say art, I don't know, art info 1 or something like that. So just give me your name. That will make, I realize I sometimes trip up when I'm answering somebody's name, and I was pondering that recently, and that's when I realized, I'm gonna ask people for their names. So this is so I've got this beautiful painting, and it's everything, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I always know that there's always room for improvement. But at the same time, I also always strive to really believe in my work and to acknowledge that beauty that I am creating. Oh, hey, Amina, Flower Fairy Art. Thank you so much. I'm just glad you're here, Amina. So I need to get started, don't I? But I'm kind of in that phase where I'm like getting my land legs, as I like to think about it sometimes. Okay, so hi there, Gabriel. I am just kind of getting started, and I find that my brain sometimes is a little slow to get revved up. And so when it's like that, like right now, I had lunch, and it was an excellent lunch, but I find that it's what's helpful is taking my time, and I'll just kind of like reapply a layer of paint in an area that I like pretty much. And Nan Meg is Nancy. Hi there, Nancy. Thank you. I like to just kind of like warm up and remind myself that what I'm working on, and like what's the. And so I'm kind of warming myself up to the new, so I'm laying in a layer in my background, and I'm not trying to be, too precious with like my paint. I'm a big believer. I paint indirectly, so I'm a big believer in the layering of paint, which also means I'll paint over my edges often when I'm doing my second and third layer. And that's because I also don't think, like art is something to be like explored and found. And so by taking time to push things through and explore, gives me an opportunity to refine and rediscover and literally refine what I'm exploring. And so I'm doing, I'm just going through. Now, in my setup right now, I'm going to have to be very careful about this edge. Somehow my edge, the texture of the background is bigger than the texture in the foreground, which is the picture. So I'm painting over my edge with the goal to re-establish that edge, and I'm going to establish it in such a way to make that nose of that picture really visually a stronger element, because I somehow it lost some of its potency, and I want to make sure that I fix that. Okay. Oops, that may have gotten a little bit too light, but I'm liking it. And yeah, There we go. And it's also a little bit too high. I realize I'm kind of craning my neck a bit. So I love the easel I have is the one that has like, it's like a little ratchet kind of that is, you pull out the handle and it's, and so like, it's got like, I think it's every 2 inches, every 1.5 inches, it steps up or steps down. And I love it because it, I had one of those easels where you you twisted it to keep it in place, but eventually that twisting mechanism starts to fail, and then you twist it and you think you've got it as tight as you want, and slowly while you're painting, your easel falls down. So okay. Oh, I haven't been paying attention to statements or who's saying hi. Okay, hi there, guys. Hi, Brandy. I don't. Ordy. Nancy, Sonia, Miro Repi, Turbo Photos. Beth. Okay, I was going to ask you question about the edge of that. Is it a dark edge against a light background? Yes, it is. And by coincidence, Beth, that I don't know what I did about my paint level, but my paint is significantly thicker in my background than my foreground. And so every time, you know, the way the light hits it and everything, my picture recedes and the foreground comes forward. So another thing is to always be thinking about that your background needs to be you need to paint your background in a more thinner layer, or, you know, like in thinner layer, or more thinly applied. I mean, of course, if you're painting like think of Gauguin or Van Gogh, yeah, that background and foreground are essentially treated as one picture plane, and it all texture, you know, all those rules kind of go out the window. But this is not a Van Gogh. This is, you know, I'm striving for an aspect of more more visual accuracy. So I'm trying to really inculcate the sense of touch here. So that means I need to be a little bit more disciplined, and that means my foregrounds need to be thicker in paint than my background. So that way, visually, everything that is in the foreground comes forward. So I'm gonna rework that. So I'm gonna lay down thicker paint, and in my foreground, and I'm re-establishing my edges. Somehow that edge just got too fine. Okay, so, and I think I made that now too dark. Ha, what do you know? That's always how it goes. You think you've got something going, and then you check for your, you know, for reality, and like, you know, what are things doing? And there we go. That's better. And my value shifts just a little bit. So today in class, I brought up the subject of form, of the idea of that we are painting 3-dimensional form on a 2-dimensional picture plane. And, you know, so it's important for us to make sure that when you're painting representationally and carefully, you want to make sure that you don't obliterate that sense of 3-dimensionality, that sense of form. And so, you know what? So what does that mean? That means that, you know, you really, when you're painting, you're thinking about how to, like, Well, I firmly think that form is also a very emotional response to your painting subject matter. But it also, you also need to be thinking about that sense of touch, and that's where form can be, can get sometimes a little bit, it can have multiple meanings because you want. You're creating something that has a strong emotive quality, but you also want to make sure that you are, that it's got the sense of touch, that sense of three-dimensionality too. So, okay, I'm just trying to establish some of my darks that I want to lay in and get kind of moving, get established a little bit more. And then I really want to work right there today. But before, what I find is that, like, when I really want to work into an area, like say that, I don't like diving into it. If you noticed, I first worked on my background. And then, while I was working on the background, I noticed this edge was not visually reading correctly. So I tend to sneak up onto the areas that where I really want to work. And I do that for many reasons, but one is it helps set up the shot of creating it helps me set up what I'm trying to create, and and also, as you paint on something, you kind of start to get more familiar with it, and it just kind of warms you up. So just like I know you're not supposed to go out and just run at full bore. No, you got to warm up. You got to build that jog. And so in a way, same goes for painting on your painting. Is warm up, and warm up by picking out areas that need a bit of attention, but that that aren't gigantically, it's not a win all lose all kind of scenario. It has some variety to it. Okay, and then I've got this lovely go. So I'm going in, I'm slowly rebuilding, or not rebuilding 100%. I'm refining. I'm highlighting and adding a little bit of extra, another layer, and another aspect of dimensional beauty. So I really love painting metal. That is, well, I love painting glass. Actually, I like painting all things, pretty much. But I have a really deep love of painting metal. I think there's something really fun about painting metal. Okay. Hey there, guys. Let's see. Richard, Mr. Richie, Arvind, I'm glad you're here. Melvin, I guess Melvin. Akram, Fiona. Nice to see you, Fiona. Thank you so much for the shout out the other day. And M. Ross and Arun, thank you guys for joining. I'm really, it always means a lot that you guys are using some of your time to check in and see what's going on. So now this nose has totally lost its dimension because I took out the reflection of the apples on it. So now I need to go back in and reestablish that. So I'm going to first establish it by putting in another gray. I like to think about when you're painting reflections on metal, that you're not going to it won't be a true like factual reproduction. It's not like it's not like a mirror. It's more like through the screen of something metal. I kept expecting to see your reflection in the jug. Thank you. So I yeah, sometimes I do. Actually, you know what, Fiona, there is a bit of my reflection. I haven't drawn it in, but my easel, the back of my easel is right here. And there's a bit of it in the photograph, but I will get to that eventually, I think. Now silver is the fun, the really strong one that I always get a lot of reflection in. Because that one is full of. Okay, so, and another thing that's fascinating about when you paint metal is that because that reflection is it's a filter through the metal, so it won't, you won't get it where it's like the colors are the same accurate color as, say, because it's reflected on this gray surface. So even like I find even with painting silver, a highly polished silver surface will not be as I might be getting that too light. And so also it's always a fine line between making it chromatically strong and not letting it get too bright. The values have to be correct too. Let's see, a little bit more, but then I gotta. So if you noticed, I'm painting wet and wet, and so that my underpainting is wet still, and I think you want to do that because it gives you the best control of your edges. But it also means that I have to be careful about my paintbrushes being clean. Now, I'm not a big person who believes in like muddy color. I think muddy color is more about an incorrect assignment of color. Like maybe you've gone too warm or you've gone too cool, or the value of that color might be a little bit off. But okay, I need to get some of that metal color back in. And then there's stuff going on right there. Let's get that. So I'm totally right there. It needs to be darker. So wet and wet, and so it's a push and pull always. So now I'm going in with a darker color and adjusting my values for there. Okay. I'm really liking that. Okay, so right there is my easel, the back of my easel. And that's actually why it shifts in value. It's funny, you don't really see the bottom just because. Okay, now I want to get some of my highlight in, and I need to really make it soft. So, and I never make my highlights too, like they're never truly true white. So I need to, I'm gonna lighten this a bit. And I've got, it's mixed in, oleo gel's mixed into it. And yeah, thank you so much. So Sammy, H&D, Mauricio, thank you Mauricio. And hi Kathy, glad you're here. Esther, Fernandez, and I think Saidar, thank you. And Santa, thanks for joining in. So I'm right now working, I've got an oleo gel by Rublev, and I really want my highlight to read and be really soft and diffused. And by coincidence, I've used up all my oleo gel from this morning, so I'm going to need to squeeze out a little bit more. So, and when I say Rublev, this is what I'm using. I'm using, let's see, there you can see it. Rublev Colors, the painting medium is oleo gel. And it's a phenomenal, it's fumed silica and cold and waxed with linseed oil. And what makes this a wonderful medium is that, it says don't eat it. It's got some harmful chemicals in it. But, oh, hey, Susan, I'm glad you're here too. What makes this Rublev oleo gel so wonderful is that well, first of all, it stays open on your palette really nicely, so I squeeze it out. But it also, it has like it's the wax, that it has a little bit of thickness to it. So when you're painting and you're using, and you want something that you want to glaze, you want to essentially be glazing down some of your colors. Oftentimes, like if you use linseed oil, your brush strokes like go away because they start to just melt. Which, there's value in that, but sometimes you kind of want your brush strokes to still be present, to still be to be red, and so. That's what makes the oleo gel so great, is that you still get a little bit of brush strokes, and they don't like totally fade and go away, which can be kind of, you've worked hard on a painting and you don't want to obliterate your brush strokes altogether, because that kind of takes away from some of your artistic expression. I think brush strokes are crucially important in the emotional expression that you're doing with your painting. So I'm going in. So I've kind of gone over already. I do that. I often will go over what I've already painted, and no harm in that. And I just, I like to paint. And I'm always, I'm thinking about my expression, what I want. And, it's all fun. It's all fun and games and gig and all that stuff. So I'm slowly building up. So if you notice, I have essentially built up a whole new layer of paint over my previous layer. And so, whoa, some people are like, why? It was already decent as it is. That is true, but this type of painting is called indirect painting. And I am a big fan of what you're able to accomplish in expression by this, repeatedly going over. I'm a slow living kind of girl, and that goes for my painting too. I want my paintings to to probably mimic my slow thinking in some ways, and the understanding. I want to slowly, truly understand my subject matter, and so that happens. So things take time. So I'm slowly building up my final layer, and it's really, I'm very happy with how it's turning out. It's a little bit exaggerated right now, but I'm gonna fix that. But I do always I exaggerate just a little bit. That's part of my interpretation of what I'm painting. I exaggerate with color, I exaggerate with brushstroke, but mainly I exaggerate with color. So now I'm going to start getting my highlight in. And see, that's what makes oleo gel so great, because I am using lead white, and I've got a little bit of oleo gel, and I've with lead white it's stiff coming out of the tube, but then you whip it. You make it you kind of whip it up. I think of like cream cheese, and you whip it to stuff in to make like the cream cheese filling for cannelloni, or like you whip a butter and sugar to make like a buttercream icing. And yeah, I'm really liking how that's turning out. So I'm slowly, and I'm lightly touching stuff, but some of those edges and paint strokes that I'm still able to keep is because of the oleo gel. It's a phenomenal medium, and I just love it. So yeah. It's lighter, so I need to get that lighter. And I need to kind of like capture that fogginess of the reflection as the metal shifts and blurs. And there's almost like a pure cobalt blue section, right? So I want to make sure I get that. It's like more cobalt blue, and then there's like some pink highlights on top of that, but I'm gonna do that for now. Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for all of you guys who are checking in today. I am so thankful for it all, for all of you stopping in. So Jason and Elonia and Anne and Beirut, thank you so much. And Kasky, Baxter, and Natural Mary, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. So yeah, I'm just, painting is so much also about the slowing down, enjoying that moment of contemplation and allowing yourself to really just investigate. So I'm slowly, I got so much more to work on, but I'm getting lost right here in the weeds of this area, and so I'm going to just stay here for the time being. There's so much fun stuff. Oh, I need to make this more yellow, not so blue. So okay, so I've been painting what's called along the contour. So if I want my if I want that to fall back, I can't just leave my brush strokes like that. It takes away the three-dimensional feeling, that sense of form on my two-dimensional picture plane. So I immediately go back and finesse those brush strokes, so that way they start to roll back in space. Okay, yes, this is working out really nicely though. Can't complain. Okay, so this needs to go. Oops, I see someone's. Let's see. Oh, Melissa, you're welcome. I'm happy to talk about all of that art stuff. I love it so much, and it's so much. It's important to understand, in my opinion. Oh gosh. Okay. I love this picture so much that I've done studies, or I've done paintings of just the exploration of these pictures and the different reflections and with like different lighting conditions. It's there's one of my favorite paintings. I haven't shared them, but they are. I love these pictures so much that I need to share them with you guys, because I think you'll like them too. So this highlight is more yellow green right here, so I'm gonna, and there's a little bit more yellow green right there, so I'm gonna get that, and then I need to work on making that stronger or brighter. So I'm going to experiment. I don't know if this will work, but it is a warmer white. I've added a little bit of raw sienna to it. What I'm going to see is if that's what I've been missing on some of this highlight. So I'm just going through it. Yeah, that might have been some of what's going on. And I'm putting that there too. I need to reestablish that foreground. Okay. I'm really liking that. Okay, so that might be pretty close to what it needs to be. Okay. Oops, moved wrong location. Haha, what do you know? So that means the first time I put it in was in the wrong location. That's where it's supposed to go. So now I need to re-establish that. Dark edge. And kind of get this edge not so. There we go. And then I accidentally obliterated that edge. So I'm gonna get that in. There we go. Whenever an edge starts to get too strong and too mighty, I look to see, like, what can I do to make it read better three-dimensionally. Yeah. Okay, so I'm sure there's more I can do. Yep, I need to make it's a little bit lighter in value right through here, so I'm going to get that lightened. Oops, I must have picked up something, but that's okay. It's just paint. Okay, yes, I'm really liking how this is working out. This needs to be a little bit lighter, so I'm going to put that down. Yeah, like. Okay, so what I'm noticing is that this has gotten too hard. So I've got essentially a clean, dry brush, and I'm going to soften that edge. And there's a couple of areas that still need to be lighter in value, so I am so now this is my third color that I'm mixing in, where I have Gita, yeah, the picture is pewter. Thank you guys, Grace and Georgia and Giebert and Kevsir. Thank you so much for joining. But yes, Gita, the picture is a pewter picture. And so now I'm on my third, maybe fourth color of highlights, and this is, I'm using white with ultramarine violet, and I'm laying that on top, and so it's creating a really good variety. And in fact, I need to make it thicker. I want to make it just a wee bit thicker in paint. But I'm not, so there we go. I've loaded my brush a little bit more because this area right here needs thicker paint. So I want to put that more thickly down. So I did, but my edges have to be soft. And I'm going to do the same thing right here and right there. Yeah, there we go. That's better. But now what I've noticed is that the value jump from here to here is too much. And so what I'm doing is I got some cobalt blue and white, and I'm improving and not having such big jumps in value. And the reality, guys, is you can continue to paint and paint and paint an area forever. So eventually you're going to have to come to a decision and decide when you might be done or not. And that is purely your decision. And you just make it. Let's see. There, that's better. I like how that's working out. So now I need to get this guy. I need to work on my picture edge. So when I laid in the background early in this Instagram live, I painted in the background around the handle, and whenever I'm painting, I always paint over my edges. So the edges are by about, I think with this setup, I think I painted over my edges by about 1/8 of an inch. Not some areas I painted over more, but not terrible, nothing earth-shattering, but I do paint over my edges, and that's because I want to have more control over my value shifts and and the way the edges work. And if I don't paint over them, I can get kind of lazy about my edges, and then that that leads to not as evocative. And I'm always striving to create a very kind of emotional, responsive painting. I want my paintings to really feel and feel something deeply. Like I've been talking the whole time in this session. I'm getting better and better at talking while I'm painting. But sometimes the emotions you're painting, you can't talk about. They can only be felt in my mind, and I want those feelings to be felt. Where was I? I totally forgot. Oh, just that I want my paintings to be emotional and evocative. And by painting over my edges every time I'm working in an area, that gives me another opportunity to think about that emotion, and to channel and refine what I'm thinking about, what I'm expressing, and so yeah. So I'm always, I want my work to be as expressive and carefully thought out as possible. They're right here. So pretty. To be careful. Okay. So my session is almost over, so there's still so much I could be thinking about and working on. Like, for example, the highlight, and then the local color. But the local color, I must be within minutes of the end of my life, because thinking about the edges and how those edges will reinforce some of the emotions and things I'm trying to capture. So I've got a dark shadow, and I need to get in, that I've obliterated by painting over it. And so then I get to reinforce that shadow and reinforce that idea of that three-dimensionality. You're welcome, Polly. Thank you. I think I need to stop in a minute. I sometimes push it to the very end, but I think I'm going to stop as soon as I get this dark edge in. And of course I refine, I laid it down, but now it's, then I need to refine that more. So then I work on how it rolls, and I work on how this rolls. Yeah. Okay. So there's so much more I could do, and this is a subject that I could work on forever. There's so much to paint about it, but I think I'll stop there. It's a good stopping point for this session. So thank you guys, everybody who joined in today. I really appreciate you joining in and saying, leaving comments and saying hello. I always am thankful and grateful for you guys showing up. And yeah, so thank you so much, guys, and I'll see y'all. Well, tomorrow I'm teaching a florals and oils class in the morning, and then at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time I will be back on Instagram Live, doing a continuation of the demonstration that I'm doing with my for my florals class. So if y'all are around on Instagram, you're always welcome to join. Until then, please have a really good day. And if y'all are artists, go out there and create. Take care. Bye.